this. So if anybody isn't available, they can listen to it at a later time. So I know we still got a few people hopping on, so we'll get into things here momentarily. Let's see if I can share my screen. Okay. Well, I'm excited to be here, and I'm so happy that Julia gave this opportunity to be in front of you. It sounds like some of you are at Gateway to Growth. So it's great that I think what we're going to be talking about today is going to really work well with what we were talking about at Gateway to Growth. If you weren't there, don't worry, you're going to get some things either way today that you can walk away with and implement, immediately into your business. So, as Julia said, I used to work for NM, both in the field and the home office. If anybody with us is from Kansas City, my hometown, love to hear from you. Now it's Milwaukee, been here for a number of years, and this is home. But I found that when I worked at the home office, I was sitting in all of these meetings, notorious home office meetings with business partners, trying to create solutions when sometimes I didn't feel like they really understood the life of an advisor. Then I'd have a call with Susan, and I can remember her telling me that she felt so frustrated, confused, and like she was getting mixed messages about what to do with her business and how to grow to the next milestone. But because, I worked for the company, I had to follow company protocols, and I knew I couldn't help her in the way that she had needed. I felt like sometimes I was speaking a different language because I felt like we should focus on the problem we're really trying to solve first versus any particular solution. Like just create a Facebook page, like what are we actually trying to solve for? And I wanted to make marketing easy versus bombarding my clients with irrelevant information or a process sometimes that felt too cumbersome or slow to produce results or left them on their own with never enough time to implement. I wanted to make things easier to find not just more clients, but the right clients, convert more, and create more raving fans. So I remember, one day really sitting at my desk thinking, there has to be a better way. There had to be a way to cut through the noise and to get better clients faster. So luckily for me, a corporate reorg gave me that a little extra nudge that I needed to get out there and help my clients in the way that I know that they needed and be the example to my daughter that I wanted to be. It was time to stop playing it safe and to play to my potential, win or lose, because, as long as I played full out, I knew there really wasn't any way to lose. So I believe that the answer is not in a 20-page plan that sits on a shelf. It's not about more, but it's about a plan that's going to grow with you, just like you likely coach your clients around the value of compound interest and how that works. And instead of getting stuck or overwhelmed with where to start or too many ideas, it should be really doable in 90-day sprints. I believe that marketing starts with your business goals and touches your sales, operations, compliance, and more. But marketing can really be that accelerator for your business. And I believe that action always beats inaction, and progress is more important than perfection. And we don't have to do it alone, right? We have each other. That's why you're here today. So now I no longer have to follow that corporate checklist. And instead of having a good solution or someone else's solutions, the advisors I work with have the right solution for their business. And instead of getting stuck or overwhelmed with where to start, too many ideas, or they have a plan that drives results for them. And I know my story is not unique, that many people struggle with how to be strategic, lead with value in an authentic way, and be consistent with their marketing. But I believe that that you provide the most impact when you play your position, you stay on offense, you leverage a winning system that helps you score more ideal clients and create more raving fans. That's what most advisors are missing. So today, let me see if I can share my screen here and give you an overview of what we're going to go through. And I make sure I've admitted everybody that's jumped on the line. Great to have you here. Feel free to drop in the chat where everybody's joining us from today. And I will just share my screen. Slideshow. And bear with me. Let's see here, share screen. There we go. Hopefully everybody can see that now. Oh, we've got Albany, Cincinnati, Quincy, wonderful, Florida. We feel like it's probably like Florida here in Wisconsin today. It's a little muggy and hot. It feels like summer. It's kind of strange. Hopefully we're getting out of the way. So when you guys come for an annual meeting, it'll just be beautiful. So in the past 20 years now, I've helped Over 1,500 advisors, just like you guys, score more and better clients. So today, in the next 40 minutes, what I'm going to do is focus on teaching you some winning plays that you can implement immediately, and some that may take some years to refine and continue to hone in on, and that's fine. So we're going to focus today on how to get specific about your markets and your clients, and how to increase consideration that others are likely to do business with you. It's the S and C part of the SCORE framework that's really going to give you that home field advantage. So the reason that we're talking about this is because marketing is no longer optional. You've probably seen this stat before, and how a strong brand can really speak for you and drive more potential clients. Getting specific about your clients and increasing the likelihood that they want to do business with you makes all the rest of your marketing so much easier and more effective. This is the part of the system that Julie asked me to focus in on today that would have the most value for our discussion, so that you can walk away with strategies you can use whether you don't know what to do, you're doing too much without a plan, or you just don't have the resources to execute. So today you're going to walk away with a framework that's going to allow you to build towards Fast Track, Lives Leader Summit, and beyond. So let's get into it. So we're going to do a mini brand bootcamp today. We're going to work on your value proposition, how you are being known, liked, and trusted, and how to enhance your digital presence, and ultimately how you can build consistency that's going to drive optimal results. So the first brand bootcamp step is to articulate your value proposition. Discover what you can be known for, because that's what leads the ability to grab interest, attracts the right clients, and makes it easier to introduce you. So on average, business has 44 competitors, but I wonder how many you guys think, a financial services business has, because you probably have sometimes that many just even in your office that could be considered competitors. So your number one responsibility is to differentiate yourself in the space while also connecting to your ideal client. So in the next 10 minutes, we're going to give you some ways you can start to stand out and differentiate yourself. So what makes a good value proposition? So a good value proposition should be easy to understand. It should be focused on the results or the benefits for your client, like confidence, flexibility. What is it that you're actually providing for them, not products? It should be explain how you're different, not better necessarily. It's different is more important. And it's how you want people to think about you. So we're going to do a fun exercise. You guys all have to participate today. We got lots of interaction during the time we have together. So the first thing I want you to think about is in the chat. I know we've got people in here from all over the country, and different types of practices. So I can't wait to see what you guys come up for this. But I want you to use you can use the little face for the emojis or icons, and put 3 icons or emojis in the chat that you feel like represent your brand in some way. What would you choose? So have fun with this, get creative. And as you guys are dropping some things in the chat, I'll give you some examples of some ones I might choose for my business and my brand. So a few things that I would think about would be 1, a soccer ball. It is playmaker coaching. I've always played sports. I'm competitive. I'm an athlete. I feel like it's my job to be able to see the whole field, advance the ball, and that'll help my team score. Another one I would choose would be a light bulb. I want to make things light. It's actually my word of the year, light. How can I make things light for others? How can I bring more light into the world? How can I spark ideas? How am I always learning and curating ideas? And then the last one maybe I would choose would be a tree, because I think it's important to be growing. You probably all heard the thing that we are notorious with Northwestern Mutual, if you're green and growing or you're ripe and rotting. But to grow, we know we have to take care of that tree. And sometimes we even need to prune it so that we can come back healthier. So I see Molly put something in here. If you want to unmute yourself, Molly, I'd love to have you tell us a little bit about the icons that you chose and what that means to you. We got some other ones.
Yeah, I just think like the sunglasses one is cool.
So you like to have fun, bring fun to your experience working with your clients?
Yeah, I work with, like high earning women particularly, and really try to empower us through our money and our financial plan. So these 3 together just kind of like, I think, make that for me. Cool women who are kind of running their lives, bosses, take in control of their money in their life and just feeling powerful and strong because of that.
Nice. Awesome. I love it. I see Anastasia, Haley, you guys have dropped some stuff in there. Either of you want to unmute and share a little bit about what those mean to you? We'd love to hear.
Sure. My faith and kind of my relationship with Christ comes over everything, and especially my business. So I'm constantly praying over my clients and everybody that I meet with and encounter. I love working with young families. Specifically, one thing that really and this is actually as a result of Gateway to Growth, is I have always loved working with young families, but I also, one of the top 2 reasons for divorce are finances. So if I can have a direct result on lowering the divorce rate in my county, then that would be awesome. And something I get a lot is just, I feel so much at peace since we met. So that's kind of that last space. That's like the peace and less stress. If I can help people
Wonderful.
make intentional decisions. Yeah.
Oh, I love these. They're so, I mean, just with 3 icons, think about the power of that. I'm like, I feel like so connected to you all already of like, oh, I want to see you succeed and want to be a part of it. That's awesome. Does one other person want to unmute themselves and tell us about what you chose? Rebecca or Lisa? Leah?
I'll do
Amber?
it.
Okay, terrific.
So I have a family as well for my first one, but I have a 2-mom family in there because I am a lesbian and I'm married and I have a wife and a baby. So I like to work within the gay community with families because we have different needs when it comes to planning. So I like to be able to be that for that community. An umbrella, because I think of like disability and insurance and all the things that we work with as an umbrella, like protection. And then a kind of laughy smile face, because I try to kind of be really light and have fun in the conversations. I think Julia once told me that I am the most chill advisor she's talked to. So I like that a lot. So I don't like it to feel very like serious and stuffy. I want it to be a good conversation. So those are 3 I picked.
That's awesome. I love these. And I wish we had time for all of you to share yours, because I think just this simple exercise, yes, of how much that tells you and how much insight that gives you, gives us into each of you and what you're trying to create and what's unique. Because when I often talk to advisors, we'll hear the kind of standard answer of peace of mind, or live your life living, but you guys you made it personal, you made it yours. So now what I want you to do is, get out a piece of paper, old school piece of paper, or if you want to open, a Word document or something on your computer, however you want to do this, but we're going to spend some time and give you a little time to reflect on these questions. So I want you to write some of the thoughts down around this, and don't feel like you have to have it perfect, just getting that spark going, getting those ideas out there. So the first part is, why work with you? If you're a client, why do they work with you? Think about, how do you want others to feel about your brand? What problems do you solve? One of the best things I think you can do is just think about meetings that you've had with your clients recently. Why did they say they agreed to meet with you? What were they asking you about in the meeting? What was their situation or the problem that they were like, hey, this has been on my mind? What would an ideal client be saying to maybe their sister that instantly made you think like, oh, I can help them, they'd be a perfect client? Who do you help and how are you different? So I want to give you a little bit of time to work on this exercise. So I'm going to see if I could turn on some music maybe while you guys are reflecting on this. So you can actually put some pen to paper here. See if I can. I don't know if I can get music with my headphones. That might be asking too much of the technology today, but spend a few minutes, put some thoughts down. I'll need to create a collage of all your guys' great icons and emojis that you come up with for your businesses. These are awesome. Okay, I know these can feel like big questions. So I feel like you have to have it all perfect today. Here's some thoughts for you around thinking about this. Like I said, often we hear peace of mind, spend your life living. That's all great, but hearing how you uniquely do that and the words that resonate with your clients makes it all the better. So you can see these examples of some ways that advisors that I've worked with have messages that are similar in ways, but yet unique and different, and what resonated really with their ideal clients. Now, certainly these are just kind of the one sentence kind of phrases and everything that they're using versus the full story, but can give you a feel of what some of these look like for other people. After Lauren went through this, she said that she had so much more energy and enjoyment because she was working with more of her favorite clients. It really gave her that clarity of who does she want to spend time with. And Daniel said he felt like he had a clearer voice of his business. In the first 90 days, just focused on this part of the process, he had 10 prospects that said they wanted to move forward. His average age of his clients moved up to what he wanted his ideal client to be, and he was in front of more A+ clients than ever. So the important thing to remember here is to listen to your clients, ask for feedback. It can feel uncomfortable to put yourself out there and say, hey, what do you think about this? Or what resonated to you? What provided the most value? But it can be so, so powerful. Your niche is going to get clearer over time, but the sooner you can find it, the more you're going to actually attract it. So who knows what happens? Like once you decide you want to buy a car, you've decided what color, what type of car is going to happen. What happens? Anybody? You see it everywhere. Yes, Anastasia, exactly. You start to see it everywhere, right? It's the power of attraction. So the clearer you can get, the easier it's actually going to make it for others to introduce you, to know, hey, I met somebody just like who you're looking for. I can connect you with them. So that's all we have to say about your value proposition for right now. Let's move on to our next topic for today. So the second part of our brand bootcamp stuff today is they're going to be, how can you be more known, liked, and trusted? The reason we're talking about being known, liked, and trusted is that telling your story and humanizing your brand helps others to feel like you understand them, that they're connected to you. People want to do business with people that they know, they like, and they trust. It also makes it more fun, right? Because you're being you, you're showing up as you, interacting with people in an authentic way. So people tend to follow the person that's a few steps ahead of them, not the person that's leap years ahead. They can't relate to them. So be you, own it. So in the next 15 minutes, we're going to assess where you are today, and we're going to help you create your expert story. So the first thing you can do today is to assess your opportunities so you know where you can focus. So we're going to go through this know, like, and trust assessment and identify some opportunities for you. So let me see if I can put, because I don't think Julia emailed this to you. So just in case you don't have it, let me see if I can put the link in the chat. Let me stop sharing for just a second, and I'll drop the link to the document so you guys can use that directly. Go there, and then you can pull it up and work through this too. Okay. Okay, the link to the documents in the chat. If you want to click on that, you can actually work through it. If not, or if for some reason that doesn't work, you can just write down your score as we go through this together. So I'll pull this back up and let me share my screen again, and we'll go through this exercise. Okay, so the first part is going to be focused on how do you feel like people know you? How well do they know you? So for each of these, you're going to score yourself from 1 to 5, with 1 being low and 5 being really strong. So the first part is my target audience, they know about me. They're aware of me. So think about where you're at from a 1 to 5 there. The next piece is my target audience knows me. They get me. They understand me. How much would they know? If you showed them those icons, would they be like, oh yeah, that's exactly what I would say for you. I know my target audience and I speak specifically to them. I encourage others to share my content, resources, or other materials. And the last one in this section is I build relationships with key influencers. So then moving on to the like section. My target audience likes me, as in they appreciate and respect me as a friend, a mentor, or a colleague. I provide real value in my content. I show personality and style. I'm honest, open, and authentic. I am generous with my time and attention. I share content and promote others. I support what is important to them. I am visible in different platforms and using different forms of communication. And the last one in the like section, I tell my story through my about me on my website and my summary on my social media profiles. And then the last section is the trust piece. I provide social proof such as testimonials and client stories. I'm transparent about who I am and who I am not. I'm accessible and easy to reach. I deliver on my value proposition and don't disappoint, but if I do, I apologize and own it. I avoid jargon and complex language. I provide value in multiple ways that allow my target audience to engage with me and choose me when they're ready. So here are a few ways, now that you've kind of gone through that and reflect on the questions, that you could increase your know, like, and trust. If you want the full list of ideas to increase your know, like, and trust, you can put your email in the chat. We'll make sure to email that out to you after today's session. But let's get into breakout groups. And what I want you to do in a breakout group with your partner in your group is to each take 1 minute and share what's the one thing that you're committed to do that you feel like in the next 90 days, you could move forward with around how you could increase your know, like, and trust. So let me see if I can break you into breakout rooms, and then we'll come back together in just a couple of minutes. Breakout rooms. I don't know how many people I have on the line. So if you have more people in your room, try to just somebody keep track of time so that you have about a minute per person. Okay. Okay. Okay, so you can join your rooms and we'll be back in just a couple minutes. Everybody should be coming back in here just a moment. Okay, as you're all returning, hopefully you had a little bit of discussion there that was helpful to articulate or hear ideas from other people about your next step on what you can do to be more known, liked, and trusted. Would one person want to unmute themselves and share us what you came up with? We'd love to hear.
I'm already unmuted, but I guess I'll just say that we both, and I don't know if anybody else feels this, but we both have had a hard time finding like our target audience. And I think, that's something that is important. It goes right along hand with the know, like, and trust and kind of having your ideal client. But I just wonder, if you have your target audience, does that mean you don't go out of that scope, or are you telling your, other clients that this is who I'm target, I don't know. That's just something that we both were struggled with.
Yeah. And that's understandable. I think, it can feel challenging at the beginning, both in terms of the clarity about who your market is, as well as that confidence and everything to articulate it and lean fully into it. I think in my experience working with advisors is it doesn't turn people away. It actually makes it easier just for them to pinpoint those people that they can best introduce you to. So you're still going to have people outside of that are going to come to you and ask for your assistance, and you certainly can still help them. You're not going to have 100% of your book, probably that's all within your target market. But it does make it clearer over time and make it easier to get more and more of the people you feel like you can have the biggest impact with, the more clarity you have around that. One of the things we did at Gateway to Growth that we're not doing today, though, is we do also have a target market assessment that can be helpful in terms of looking at some of your target markets and going through kind of a similar exercise to what we just did in terms of, what are your target markets and what's your opportunity and your energy and your potential, and reflecting on that. And sometimes that helps you to think about, do I really want to stay in this market? Or, is this something that's worth pursuing? Or what's the way that I could maybe take one step forward, just like this, to, have more success in a particular market? So that's certainly something we can share out with you too, if you're interested in learning a little bit more about that exercise of peeling back a little bit more your target markets. So thanks for sharing that. So the last piece of this, just like we reflected about your value proposition, here's another opportunity for think about a few questions that you can reflect on in the next couple of minutes. So the first one is, what can you be known for? Or what is it that maybe would make other people always think about you, like that you'd instantly come to mind? What is my I believe statement? Or another way of thinking about that is what is it that when everyone tells them X, you say Y? What's your separation statement or that I believe statement that you have conviction over? What's your money story or your why? Some of you guys even talked a little bit about your why when we were talking about the emojis that you came up with. Do you have a word of the year? Like I have light as my word of the year. I'm a big fan of that. Or core values or a mission statement that really drives you. So if you haven't done this before, start by coming up with a story of a time that you needed an expert. And we're going to talk about that and give you an example to work, some time to work on that in just a minute. But I want you to put some pen to paper around some of these questions while it's fresh in your mind. I'll give you a couple minutes to reflect. So I think every advisor should have that separation statement or I believe statement that's really powerful. And they should have a story about a time that you needed an expert. So for me, let me share an example of a time that I needed an expert. I was working on, I shared this for some of you before, working on a change to my website. I log in, I make the change, I save it, I preview it. It looks good. Great. But what happens? not so good. When I look at it, once I submitted it and it was live, it did not look the same as what it did in preview. I was frustrated, go back in, try to make the change again. But I felt like I was going backwards instead of getting accomplished what I was trying to do. I felt like I was creating more problems, and now I was losing what I originally had on my site. And I felt so frustrated, wanted to throw my computer. I took a deep breath, paused, and I reached out to my friend Joe. Joe is a website expert. And what do you know? He was able to fix it and get it all done in 5 minutes. I thought to myself, why didn't I just reach out to Joe to begin with? You know, for all of us, there's a time in our life where we need an expert. The time is now. So what is your story about a time that you needed an expert? It can be totally unrelated to what you do, to finances. That's great. That's actually better. But what's an example of a time that you needed an expert? So anybody willing to unmute and share a story? Nothing comes to mind. So
I have a
another
story.
Great. Thanks for volunteering.
So when I moved into my condo last year, I decided to purchase a custom wallpaper to put on my wall. And like, it was, the reason it was like a picture, and it was the exact, you had to like send in the measurements and do all these things. And they ship you the wallpaper, and it's like in these different columns, and you have to line each column up. They're numbered. So, you know, you kind of like peel the backing off and put column 1 up, then column 2. So I thought it said like, oh, this is super easy. And it had all these instructions, super complicated instructions. So I'm like, okay, I can do this. And I start putting it. And as I'm putting it up there, it's not lining up right. I'm now wrinkling the wallpaper. And once it's like kind of crumpled, you can't uncrumple it. And so then I call a friend like, oh, come help me. And like, we're both trying to put it up, and it's just going terribly. Finally, I said, you know what? I'm going to have to hire someone to come put this wallpaper up. And I hired this woman, and she was excellent, came right in, did it in like 2 hours and was done with it. And I was just like, that was something really specific that I needed. And if I had just called someone from the very beginning, I would have saved the heartache and all of that. But yeah.
Thank you for sharing that. That's an awesome example of exactly, you know, we all have those moments in our lives where the time it would have taken, the headache, the stress, you know, all these other things where we could have saved ourselves, but sometimes we learn the hard way. But you're not alone with that. You know, your clients are all thinking that too, of like, maybe I can just do this myself. But to be able to put yourself in the shoes and say, hey, I've been there too, of the times when I thought I could do it myself, but here's what I learned. You know, here's the time when I needed an expert, and I'm so glad that I leveraged that expert. So many of you are probably already starting to come up with a lot of different ideas that you've identified. So avoid these mistakes as you move forward. One is trying to implement everything at once. And secondly, jumping from one thing to the next without really giving it enough time to work. You know, with marketing, especially, you got to stick with it. And that's really when you get results. So everyone's telling you to ask for referrals and make dials. But I'm telling you, if you want to set more appointments, the key is to start with being more known, liked, and trusted. So that's all I have to say about know, like, and trust. Let's move on to our third and final brand bootcamp exercise today, enhancing your digital presence. As Sarah Miller said, people are viewing you when you don't even know it yet. And just because we might not see engagement doesn't mean that it isn't helpful or that it doesn't have the ability to make you more credible and more familiar to others. So I want you to take the next 5 minutes to complete your digital checkup. Google yourself, look at your website, look at your social media profiles, and conduct an audit. And some things that you might see right away, some opportunities might be things like, hey, my image is out of date. I need a new headshot, or I could add a LinkedIn featured post or customize my LinkedIn URL. I make sure my contact information is available online everywhere, or that links are working properly. And if you've done this before and you're ready to take it to the next level, you might start to look at how consistent is your message talking to those target markets, to your ideal client across different platforms. What's your brand look and feel? Does it make people think about you? Does it provide that, maybe that warm and inviting feel that you want, or the area of the country you're in that it kind of feels like it's representative of you? Does your message speak to your ideal clients? I see Anastasia saying your maiden name still sprinkled all over, some opportunities to update that. Yes, names can be tricky because sometimes you end up with like a really popular name, or some people it's just working with the different systems of getting that processed. NM ones are a little bit more challenging sometimes once you have a name set up a certain way to go back and change those. So I'll give you a few more minutes to start to just glance out there, do a quick audit, see what stands out to you and what could be one or two things maybe the next 90 days that you might be able to do to start to improve your digital presence. And if you're not sure what else to look for and everything, and you want even more expert recommendations for this, one thing you can do is you can request a personalized digital checkup from me. You can go to playmakercoach.com/checkup, and I'll give you my top 3 recommendations for your own social website and search, particular to what I see when I go out there. So if you need some additional ideas or want an outside perspective, feel free to do that. The website, it's playmakercoach.com/checkup. I'll put it in here. And that's where you can get that digital checkup. Okay, so let's move on to our final portion of our session of creating consistency to optimize results. So then we're going to open up to questions. So it'd be great if you have some. So go ahead. If you're thinking about something, put it in the chat. We'll be sure to try to get to that. Or if we run out of time or it's something that's just more personal to you that you want to ask individually, you can feel free to text me. My number is on the slide, so you can send it in that way in case we run out of time or we want to have a more in-depth conversation. So I remember when Megan told me that she worked on her website for years, but she hadn't touched it since. And she felt like it was such a wasted effort now because she's like, I did this and now I have to redo it all again. But the framework that makes the Playmaker winning system different is having this process that we use. So it's not about updating your value proposition or your digital presence one time and not touching it again for years. It's about incrementally getting better. It's like when you explain the power of compound interest, right? You're saying like, we're going to do a little bit now, and eventually all of a sudden it's going to be huge, the difference you're going to see and how much that's impact that's going to have. So everything is put through this cycle to be strategic, allows you to add more value in a consistent way, and ultimately exponentially grows the impact on your business and gets you the results that you're looking for. So one of the most common questions I get is, Jennifer, how do I engage with you further? So every day I work with advisors just like you guys. I love especially the under 5-year advisors because there's such a desire to grow and do more, but sometimes you're just trying to get through every day. But if that's you and you want to develop and execute a playbook for success, take this to the next level. The next step is to join the Champions Club Brand Bootcamp. And what it is a 2-month group program for under 5-year financial advisors to help you stand out, gain the clarity on that problem you solve for your clients, and enhance your digital presence by an updated website, social media profiles, and maximize search. What it does is provides an online presence that can speak for you and attract more of your ideal clients so that you're setting more appointments. And what it means is you don't have to do this alone. You don't have to struggle with what to write or to find the time to update your digital presence. If you saw a lot of things today, that will help you do that for you. You have a coach that's worked with financial advisors and with NM for over 2 decades and a team to help hold you accountable and take that burden off your shoulders. You can finally feel proud about your digital presence and know that it's working for you. So whether you haven't touched your online presence, you've made a few changes, but it's been a while, or you just want an expert to do it for you, the Champions Club is going to create a digital presence that speaks for you to attract and convert more leads. So to help you get started, I'm extending the early bird bonus to write your copy for you through tomorrow. So you won't have to pay any additional investment for that. So you can go to playmakerforyou.com/champions if you're interested in getting started. And don't worry, I know there's a lot of options out there, especially in the marketing space, where you can spend thousands and thousands of dollars and not know what works or see results. We're going to do this program for just 3 easy payments of $500, but space is limited and the summer session's closing this Sunday, the 15th. We will likely have a fall session. So if you're feeling like maybe not right now, but I'm interested later, you can let me know that too. And we'll see if we can save some space for you for the fall. But, I know it's human nature that for us to put things off. It's human nature to say, I'm going to wait until I'm ready. I'm going to wait until I have more time. But here's the deal. You're never going to be not busy. You're never going to feel like it's the perfect time. And because I want you to take action, and I know that this will help you and help you get off to a faster start, what we're going to do is we're actually going to give away one person today that can get into the program for a third off the program fee. So for everybody that's been in the line and has commented in the chat, you're going to be eligible. And we will follow up after this to let you know who the winner is. So we'll just randomly select for everybody that's participated today, one person that can get in the program for a third off the program fee. So we have time for a little bit of Q&A today. So what questions are there? If you can either drop it in the chat, I'm going to see if there's anything in there, or feel free to unmute yourself. And let's see, I see one. Anastasia, you said you have a team member available to do all of your marketing. You want her to just take it and make it her own, but she needs a lot of guidance. Any tips on how to communicate what you're looking for so it's consistent and off your plate? Yeah, great question. So I think a lot of the work that I do with people is, we start to document information so that as you have team members that you want to plug in, it makes it so much easier that they know things like, who your ideal client is, what is the problem that you solve for them, so that as you're articulating kind of those pieces that we talked about today about what your brand is and who you're trying to work with, then they have that foundational piece that they can always come back to of like, here's who we're trying to talk to and how we feel like we can help them. And then things like if you want them to do social, the same kind of thing, like try to start to document a framework of how often do you want to be out there? Are you trying to use social just to create credibility, or do you actually want to create more community engagement? So setting some of those kind of initial objectives and communicating that to them, hopefully will give them a little bit more framework then to then execute. Of like, hey, I want to make sure that we're at least, communicating twice a week, something that's really personal to us. Then if they know who your client is and what your message is, hopefully they can go out there and start to execute that. So I know that can be challenging. We do have some different templates that we usually work with clients on to have them start to map that out. So then, as you have staff that joins your team or you have turnover, they can kind of pick it up and get up and running so much faster.
Awesome. Thank you. I don't want to monopolize it. So if anyone has a question, I did have another question right above that. But someone else is welcome to ask if you want to come back and circle.
I have a question.
Yes.
Yeah.
What is your question?
Jennifer, maybe others kind of like feel this too in our industry, but it feels like, a lot of our marketing branding kind of story, like having social presence is just so limited because of our compliance that we have to adhere to, right? Like we're not allowed to have testimonials and things like that. So it's just always, I guess, just advice around that. My feeling is the brand that I want is not Northwestern Mutual approved. So
it can certainly be challenging and frustrating at times. I think one thing to keep in mind is sometimes it's how you ask something or what you're trying to ultimately get to that dictates what kind of response you get. So if you ask something a certain way, people might automatically say like, no, like you can't do testimonials, when in reality, like testimonials you can do, as long as you're not a IAR representative series 6566, you are allowed to do testimonials, but there is a process. You have to have clients sign off on them. And before you put them on your website, and social is a little different than your website, but I think they're hugely powerful and something that most people are like, oh, I didn't know I could do that. So, there sometimes just those nuances of how you ask about something or what type of response you get. And then the other piece in terms of kind of representing your brand, certainly there's things like video. It would be fantastic if you guys could do with video. but that isn't an approved NM opportunity right now. What you can do though is, even though like everything needs to go through Hearsay for social, you can still do your own custom content in there, and that's what gets you 30 times the level of engagement. So, utilizing the Hearsay app and just taking a photo when you're doing something and like sharing like, hey, I had this great conversation, or I, just learned this, I think super impactful with people that I'm talking to. So you can still customize it. And I highly encourage that, but you can, start with maybe it's one a week or something doable to you. That starts to get people to feel more of who you are, and especially depending on what your market is. Some people that have markets that are NM content speaks more to, like medical or small business owners, then like if you're working with blue collared individuals or certain fields, you might find there's not as much content, but leverage what you can and then figure out like, okay, what can I do? And where is there maybe some gray space where it's like black and white, no, you absolutely can't, versus okay, there's some things that are a blend of personal and professional, right? You could argue like, is this really professional? Like maybe I can use my personal channel to talk a little bit more, about who I am as a business owner. So I think there's some ways to make it work, but I understand that can be kind of challenging. And that's where sometimes, having somebody else that you feel like you can just kind of help navigate you through that can be helpful. So certainly let me know if you're running into certain particular challenges that you want to talk through too.
And are those things that you kind of go through with the champions?
Yeah.
Bootcamp?
So with the bootcamp, we don't get into, in that program, we're not getting heavily into posting for social. We're doing more around your profile. So, which certainly has to be connected to Hearsay too. But things too that like, even with your profile, like, if you have a Facebook personal page or personal profile, which most people probably do, do you talk about and link to your business, in your profile? Do you have some keywords in there that talk about it, that kind of blend some of it together? So there are certain things that we get into there, but we usually be on the Champions Club when we start to get more into your social media, like content strategy and helping you kind of build out what that would look like. Because then you have that clarity of like, here's who I want to talk to and here's how I want to help them and how I think I can have the biggest impact. Now let's start to deliver that in various different ways, whether it's speaking or social or whatever maybe is that next step for you. So,
thank you.
Yeah. And Anastasia, I'm looking at your other question here regarding the story about needing an expert. What's the purpose of having that? Where do you use that? Great question. So if you're doing, there's various different ways you could use that. You could use it on your website. I have one client, Coleman Entz, who has done that and talked about needing an expert, doing home remodeling, like, hey, I thought I could do this himself, but no, I realized I didn't, and it can just be something that people can relate to of like, yeah, we've all been there when we thought we could do something. It was like, oh, that didn't work out, so he used it there. You could use it in social media and some of your content and periodically kind of share like those examples that people are like, oh yeah, I've been there, and it's something like, once again, you're not even talking about financial services. Those are sometimes the best things because people are like, oh, but I can see how that relates. So those are a couple places. The purpose, like I said, is to, ultimately what you're trying to do is to connect with people and say, and let them know that you get them, you get the problems and the challenges they have. But then ultimately, we're also trying to help them to see that you've had some unique experiences that allow them to help that other people haven't had. So we're trying to do both pieces there. So they kind of get your why, they get, hey, you get me, you get my struggles, you understand me. And then you get the next piece of it. But I've had some unique experiences that have allowed me to help you in ways that you probably can't do for yourself. So other questions? These are great questions today. I think we have time maybe for one more question. And like I said, if you didn't get your question answered or you want to talk a little bit more in depth, like Molly, about that situation, feel free to text me or you can reach out via email. And if you wanted any of the handouts that we talked about today, like the 20 things to improve your know, like, and trust, feel free to put that in the chat. We'll make sure to get those out after today's session as well.
Sorry, again, not to monopolize, but if nobody else has a question, and you may have just answered this because I had a very low score on the no portion of that. Is what you're sending out going to have like some ideas on how to improve on that.
Yeah. Yeah. So
Okay.
we've got 20 ideas, just spark some ideas of where could you start and get in that space. So hopefully that gives you a little bit more insights into what else you could do. We try to keep them things that are pretty bite size, but just what's that next step and everything of what you could do in that space.
Perfect.
And let's see, Nicole says, can you provide your top 2 examples of solutions provided? Can you tell me a little bit more what you mean by that, Nicole? When you say solutions?
Yes. In the beginning, you asked the question, what are the top solutions that you provide? And so would love to hear just what other reps have used that felt like was really strong.
Like in terms of, like their value proposition, some of their language.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I think we talked about some of the things some of them have been making you more like these are kind of the like somewhat the tagline part of it and stuff. One of them is like making you more successful. Another one he talks about, it's your future on your terms. Somebody else, it's like knowing you better. You could do it yourself, but do you want to? He talks about, another is like, it's all about you and your story. So those all kind of probably feel somewhat similar, but are a little different in terms of what we specifically heard from their clients on the language that they use and what resonated to them. I'm trying to think of some of the other ones that were in there. One of them, his is living life by design, not default. So that was part of his key message. So once again, I think the easiest way to kind of figure out what yours is sometimes it's just listening to what your clients are asking you. What are they saying? Or, put yourself out there and ask for feedback. That's one of the favorite things that I get to do for clients is I actually call a lot of my clients' clients and on their behalf, and we get feedback and we hear specifically language from them, testimonials. And it's so wonderful because I'm like, then I want to be all of your guys' clients. So I love doing that. People want to help you. They do want to share. They like to be involved. So I encourage you to, just ask them or be really good listener in your meetings. So I have one final thought for you all today is, picture a day when you have a digital presence that really represents you. Picture a day when others say, how are you setting so many appointments? Picture a day when you're getting introductions and not chasing leads. You're going to feel so good. So
is it too late to ask one more question?
No, I think looks like we've got a couple minutes before the top of the hour. Yeah. What can I answer for you?
Okay. I was just wondering, I've been doing a lot of more so like, I don't know that I would say approach meetings, but just meeting a lot of women in the community, business owners, entrepreneurs. And I find that I have a hard time, I don't know how to say this, like getting something from it. Like we can have the conversation about here, this is what I do. This is what you do. Here's how I can help. Would you be open to kind of going through the process and letting me show you so you, at least, and can refer better. But I'm wondering if like, if it's weird to come with like maybe a feed list of some sort, like, hey, these are just some mutual connections we already have. I'd like to reach out to these people. I'm trying to feel like at least I can get something from it.
Yeah. Are these people that you think are more clients, or is the purpose of the meeting more as like an influencer and for introductions?
Ideally clients. I mean, it's from this main page that's local to our area, and it's called Boise Business Babes. And there's a whole bunch of just entrepreneurs on there, and I've met with a lot of them, but I feel like either
they're open to meeting, but then the meetings aren't really going anywhere.
Yeah, they're not efficient, or maybe they're like, maybe we don't set a meeting at the end. And so I just want I guess almost discovery meetings. Like, how can you make those efficient?
Yeah. So I would say, think about like, do you have an agenda for that discussion of what you want to get out of it and everything? Sometimes, I mean, certainly, if you can add value or know, like, what have they been engaging in or posting online, or what's kind of going on in their world that you can come in and like add some value to them first, then that certainly kind of opens up a little bit more for them to hopefully want to support you as well. Some of the other things I've seen in that space though, is having that discussion about, clarity, like here's who I typically help and the types of people, and that you can explain that to them and give them some different ways that, just like you want to support them in their business, what are some different ways maybe they can support you? Because giving introductions, I think we tend to default to that being like the only way that people can help us is either become a client or give us introductions. But there's actually other ways, right? They could share your content. They could pass on an email that you sent to somebody else they think would benefit from it. They could write you a testimonial, like what are some other ways maybe too that they could help you as a business owner, and what could you do for them? And when you come in and give, I think that makes it so much easier than to also for them to want to be like, oh yeah, how can I support you? And which of these maybe would be like something that you'd be open to. If they're really somebody that you can be a COI, then I think you can take it to a little bit more purposeful too of, hey, how can we both help each other as business owners grow? Here's some people in your network. Here's my network. Who can I introduce you to? What are the 2 or 3 people in here that I can make that introduction for you to? So that maybe a couple pieces in terms of that, of like, certainly fee lists can be super effective, but you have to be somewhat cautious sometimes depending on the relationship. If you pull that out like right in the first meeting, versus maybe some category questions, some different things of like, if they're an influencer, who are the, mortgage lender that you work with, how would you rate them? Are they a 10 out of 10? Like if they're a 10 out of 10, like, hey, I want to meet them too. That's awesome. If they're a 2 or a 3, well, then maybe that's somebody that you can help introduce them to somebody else in that space down the line.
Yeah. Okay. Those are good. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Well, great questions, great dialogue today. Thank you guys for all being on with us. Make sure, reach out. I know I've got a lot of people that put your contact information in the chat, so we'll make sure to get out the follow-up resources for you, but reach out if I can be of resource to you. Join us in the NM Marketing Playmaker group for different webinars and resources and videos that we put out periodically, and love to have you all in the Champions Club. So have a great rest of your day.
Thanks, Jennifer.
Thanks. You're welcome.